And these two schedules present two items. One, expenditure within the 3% legal limit, amounting to 1.363 trillion. And two, which comes under Schedule 2, amounts that require prior approval of Parliament, amounting to shillings 2.063 trillion. So the total sum being requested for approval is 3.426 trillion. As you all know, this is a very challenging period to consider supplementaries because it's difficult to raise the necessary quorum to consider these requests. Going through the schedule, you can all see that the number of votes reflected there requesting for money in the form of supplementaries. Schedule 1 will have to be looked at along with Schedule 2. In Schedule 1, we obtained some details. Do we have some schedules for the members?
Yeah. No.
So I was saying, in Schedule 1 we have some little details about the requested expenditure. It is in Schedule 2 where we found a lot of challenge. No details at all were given. We cannot even tell whether the expenditure is development or recurrent expenditure. Actually, in both of them, that has not been indicated. So I think we need to obtain a lot of information in order to prepare the requisite report to Parliament. So, Honourable Minister, I think I'll give you a few minutes to make your presentation, to provide the details about this item. But as you present, we really need to know the source of funding for the supplementary request. It's very important that we obtain that information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I came with the Minister for Works and Transport and our staff. It was the case of health and the Director of Budget. We first would like to congratulate you upon successful NRM primary. I know our brother Charles had some difficulties, but nevertheless we went through. I was congratulating everybody who participated in the NRM primary. For those who succeeded and those who did not make it, we all thank God that we went through that. The second is that I came with the Minister of Works to give more details on some of the expenditures that have been paid down in Schedule 2 and the PSO health. So I seek your guidance whether I should go through supplementary Schedule 1 or I go straight to Schedule 2. Why you think that we need to get more information?
The new item is introduced under Schedule 1. If it has remained the way we had approved most of these items under the previous financial year, maybe you would not need. But as it is, we have introduced new items there. So maybe you can give us more details about those new items.
Yeah, so I have distributed, colleagues, I've distributed some statement to you all members. We can go through it quickly, and I'll begin with Schedule 1. As you're all aware, we did approve a supplementary budget of 2020, the budget for financial 2020-21, equivalent 45.49 trillion, and this was summarized as follows: 29.99 was appropriated.
Are you looking at this one?
The talking notes.
That very one.
That very one.
The first.
Yes, yes.
1549 was total expenditure. And during this execution, as all of us know, we have experienced a number of pressures which have necessitated the issuance of supplementary expenditure amounting 3.426 trillion. The 3.4 trillion is broken down as follows. Under Schedule 1, that is under the 3%. As you recall, you approved a supplementary expenditure toward the end of the financial year, a few hours to the end of the financial year. And technically, the money could not be spent, but we carried all the expenditure that you had approved into the Schedule 1, supplementary Schedule 1, under the 3% limit. There was just a slight adjustment under what you actually approved, but as you go, we'll be seeing it. So under supplementary Schedule 1, which is on page 2, the minister authorized under vote 002 State House 201 billion to cater for classified expenditure and 1 billion to cater for scientists developing the antique vaccine. This was provided following a directive from His Excellency the President to fund the antique vaccine program. Foreign Affairs 2.67, we provided it to cater for former ministers who were appointed as ambassadors and facilitated their person to hold the entitlement. This was provided given that the President appointed heads of missions who were former ministers, and therefore the need to provide for the entitlement which had not been budgeted for under the vote. Under the Ministry of Finance, 455.18 billion. This was actually the resources that we had already approved to cater for the Uganda Development Bank. 50 billion to transfer to Microfinance Support Center. And then 110 billion to cater for Emyoga. Under the Ministry of Agriculture, on page 3, 10 billion, as you have already approved, was provided to facilitate the rollout of the e-voter input system. And Ministry of Health received 89.340 to support capacity building, systems of prevention, early detection, and control of the spread of COVID-19. The Ministry of Trade and Industry, 100 billion was provided to go to UDC as you had already approved. Ministry of Works, 1.820 billion was provided to cater for governments of Uganda's contribution toward the development of Church of Uganda Martyrs Museum at Namugongo. Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, 31.032 was provided, and I think this was already approved by you, cater for scientific research, including the procurement of specialized machines and equipment, development of vaccines, drug diagnostics, and other operational costs. KCCA received 5 billion for court awards under the St. Balikudembe market stalls. And then the National Animal Genetic Resource Center and Data Bank of 2.430 was also received by that department to cater for compensation of 25 acres acquired by Civil Aviation Authority. And this was a expenditure that had already been provided for under the supplementary approved before the House adjourned. Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, 3.648 billion. One was to cater for outstanding obligations on the case management information system, 1.4 billion to cater for purchase of vehicles for newly appointed VPP, and 1 billion to facilitate the vote, reduce the base backlog to facilitate the department to reduce the base backlog. The Canada Revenue Authority received 60.855 billion to cater for digital stamp solutions. And Uganda prisons, the 10 billion we recall what we provided on page 5 to cater for fossilizing out of increasing number of prisoners as a result of measures which were put in place to control the spread of COVID-19. And then a number of other institutions received 223 billion cater for clearance of domestic areas, 193.9 billion went to recurrent domestic areas, which are for land, cooperatives, rent, other recurrent and development areas, 73 for payment of areas, suppliers of crop seedlings, 6.1 for payment of areas for tea seedlings, and 50 billion for utility areas in line with the government program on the fight against the spread of COVID-19. About 500 local governments received 6.829 and 2.857 went for local governments as a supplementary to correct the resource that was provided under the parliamentary commission for members of parliament, which was returned, and therefore we had to take it back. And the only was supplementary. 3.8 billion provided for education capital grant, and the 160 million provided for the newly created local governments, as well as meeting its Russia shortfall. So that is what we were so far spent. This is money already spent under the 3%, and it is almost 99% of the resources that were approved, but they could not be spent because of the time limitation, and that the only alternative was to implement your decision was to use the 3%, which we did. That's the detail. So during this time, we have received a lot of pressures, as you know, because of the resource available, the circumstances that we're going through, and would wish to again ask for supplementary under Schedule 2 for the following votes. State House, 250 billion to cater for Class 5 expenditure. Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, 1.124.5 billion cater for Class 5 expenditure. And Chair, as a person who sits on this committee of Class 5, you know some of these are outstanding obligations that we have to cater for. Under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 2.439 billion cater for deployment of the Deputy Head of Mission, Dar es Salaam, who was appointed in January, but due to budget constraints had not been deployed. Deployment of Deputy Mission of Abu Dhabi, transferred in August 2020, and posting of Foreign Affairs Officer to Ottawa. This is to cater for this. Minister of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Chair and colleagues, we have an outstanding obligation as government, the people of Acholi, Lango and Teso, in terms of compensation. So we are providing 10 billion for each of these regions for now, as we continue to mobilize more resources to sort out this obligation. Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, we are providing 95.6 billion, of which 50 billion is provide additional support to the Myoga initiative, especially for Kampala and Wakiso. The Minister of State for Microfinance has been moving across the country to organize enterprises, different enterprises under Myoga, under different skills, which we are going to support. But the situation of Kampala needs extra resources. As you know, majority of the young people have also a lot of pressure in Kampala and Wakiso. So the bulk of the Myoga money, the 110 we have already approved, will cater for the rest of the country, and then the 50 will also be utilized for this part.
Where is the money for the rest of the country?
The 110 is already under the Schedule 1. Under Schedule 1.
I did not see you present it.
Okay, it's on page 2. I was actually surprised that you didn't make a comment on it, because I knew you were very much interested.
At the bottom.
At the bottom.
So this does not include Wakiso?
No, that excludes Wakiso.
Yeah, but the districts are saying they have not seen this money, and you're claiming that they have sent it.
Yeah, we have sent it to the Microfinance Support Center, and the process, as you know, this is a process of setting these groups. They register, they save, they open the bank accounts, and then the money starts flowing.
I thought the money is going to the districts.
Yeah, to be going to this, but through Microfinance Support Center. But the readiness of the district to receive this money also has to be taken into consideration.
So what
But we want to target
the 110?
But we want to target constituency level. Constituency level.
Yes, but you are too slow. You are too slow. People are losing votes on account of your speed. You have publicized the thing and the thing is not happening.
So, Chair, it is coming. It's coming. It's coming at a terrific speed.
The snail pace.
So, Chair, I can see the PS of Harris. I can see the PS of Harris looking at me with a very tough eye. I would imagine that she wants to remind the chair of the committee that when you are not taking a cup of tea, you keep your mask on properly.
Unless you are saying we should not take tea.
So if I may continue, or we are now on Schedule 2.
There's a procedure matter.
No, Chair, I just wanted to bring over the minister
You cannot hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to find out whether it was procedurally correct for the minister to divert from the actual thing that was presenting to us and start talking of other issues referring to the PS minister. when we want the thing so fast so that we get it to the others as well as
I have looked at just protecting the job.
no. We can protect it, it's not you.
On Ministry of Health, so we also have 45 billion under Ministry of Finance to pay the outstanding loan obligation by UTL to Trade and Grow Medibank. You recall that UTL had got money from Trade and Grow Medibank as a loan, and as a government we are governors of the bank. So despite our internal challenges that we are facing with the company, we think that this obligation should be catered for so that our level, or rather our name at the bank is protected. So under vote 14, the Ministry of Health, we are providing 100 billion as follows. 50 billion will be under vote 116, national medical stewards, to meet Uganda's commitment with health partners of increasing funding obligation for malaria, TB, HIV, AIDS by 150 billion over the 3 financial years. This is because of the decline in government partner support and therefore the need for government of Uganda to take over the funding gap. The funding is required for purchase of the EMC, of which procurement of ARVs 10 billion, procurement of TB drugs 15 billion, and procurement of reagents and test kits for viral load testing lab reagents 24 billion. Then we also require, the Ministry of Health requires more than this, but we are providing 50 billion for additional funding to support Ministry of Health interventions to COVID, the fight against the spread of COVID-19. Ministry of Works and Transport will require 220 billion, following the bilateral agreement between Uganda and DRC under different directives by the 2 heads of state, the President of Uganda, the President of DRC, to implement strategic infrastructure projects. Government has committed to provide 20% of the project to construct and maintain 223 kilometers of road network connecting the 2 countries in order to boost trade between the 2 countries, ease business, improve people-to-people connectivity, and obviously security. And all of you, as you know, our major export in the region was South Sudan, who had actually reached 700 million. Because of the difficulties in South Sudan, Congo seems to be one of the biggest market now that is available, and we are exporting 500 million US dollars in DRC Congo. So this project infrastructure would actually help us to market our goods, because we are producing, we must find a market for it. The project
Now, the roads in Congo, they are in Uganda.
They're in Congo.
They are in Congo.
Yes.
I think we shall need to see that agreement.
Yes, yes.
The money refunded.
General Katumbi. General Katumbi.
They link to Uganda.
They link to Uganda.
The roads are going to link to Uganda, so we are linking to 2 countries.
No, but what you are saying, we're constructing roads in Congo.
Yeah, as a joint, it's a joint project, more or less.
Yes, joint project.
It's a joint project.
Are you taking over Congo?
No, it's a joint project. That's what I'm saying, and that's when you see here, we're only contributing.
Some in Uganda?
We are contributing only 20% of the project.
Yeah,
I think we shall get more from this.
some parts of Uganda also. I think there are there. The project is a PPP whereby the 2 countries will provide 20% and ours will be a contribution of 20%, and then they also contribute 20%, and they get a contractor who will contribute 60%.
In the form of a loan?
In the form of a loan, but Uganda will not be a guarantor of that loan. Ours is just a contribution, and our contribution is to start off the project so that our role is can start providing goods in that country quickly. Then the Ministry of Works is here, will be speaking to this. Need is 20 billion. Need is more, but we are providing 20 billion for counterpart funding for rehabilitation on the meter gauge railway. And it's Tororo to Guru. Tororo to Guru. Tororo to Guru. So Tororo to Guru. Yeah, Tororo to Guru, I think, yeah. And you can give him in more details. And he will give you more details on actually how this railway was one of the key transporters of coffee in the last few months. Then the Ministry of Energy and Transport, 50 billion is to meet the cost of deeming the energy shortfall. This is a matter that is known to you, Chair and colleagues, on the shortfall that we have on this matter. Then Electoral Commission, 50 billion. This is to reduce the shortfall on the electoral roadmap and remain to go toward the meeting requirement on a biometric voter verification system, as well as operational costs arising out of increase in the number of constituencies, as well as special interest groups. We hope that we will get all the money for the commission to finish elections, but they require how much? 130, the total.
Overall, the whole requirement? No,
The additional requirement.
no additional requirement. The Electoral Commission submitted a request of 132 billion. We held meetings with them. We identified areas where we can have efficiency savings on account of the environment we are operating in of COVID. So we think that 50 billion should be increased to take them.
Okay. But the elections will be carried out. Uganda Police Force, we are providing 30 billion toward the meeting of the persistent shortfall on fuel, food, maintenance, classified and insurance. The supplementary in 2019-20 was not provided given that the financial year was coming to a close. Therefore, this amount has been allocated to meet the shortfall on the above critical items. NADS, 100 billion to meet the proposed intervention for agro-led program through support provision of agriculture input using nucleus farmer, processing facility model, and support to value addition and agriculture processing. And the Office of the Minister of Agriculture, NAD, is here. We can expound on this particular projects, but it's an important project for us. Local governments, 10.294 billion, funding for the completion of construction of 6 schools and completion of upgrade health center 2, health center 3 under the U-Gift, which were unspent balances from 2019-2020. So this is the method of again capturing money which was not spent. So we are just using as a route to access it again. Honorable colleagues, we have done some readjustments within the budget because of COVID, and some of these resources will come from suppression or rearrangement of the budget, and the schedule will be given to you how we have been able to work on it, and also domestic borrowing and external borrowing, together with a combination of watching over the revenue inflow. So, Madam, Mr.
What you are
Chairman,
saying is not here. What we have said here is borrowing.
yeah, but I've given further information.
Oh my God. This is not in writing. Okay. Okay, thank you.
But it's on record, so the answer.
No, we are not recording an answer here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and colleagues.
Thank you for that presentation, Minister. I'm sure there's a lot of clarification which are required. Maybe before I invite members, I could highlight some of them. Remember SICPA, this money for digital stamps is an issue that remained pending in the previous report. In fact, it is one of those items that Parliament never passed. Unfortunately, it is the first item for which you are releasing funds under Schedule 1. And that might look like a slap in the face of Parliament, you know, and I hope you can appreciate my comment there, because the matter was kept pending consideration by Parliament, but now you have gone ahead to release the money to the agency. There's this issue of compensation for war claims. Now, has this been verified? And we might need the evidence of that verification for that payment of cows and so many other things. That item is, I cannot remember where it is, but it is there. That's a lot of money. Then, as I mentioned, that you're presenting a Nyoga has been over-publicized. You have marketed it so well, the ordinary wananchi know about a Nyoga already. And we have seen this during our campaigns in the villages. Unfortunately, they are all complaining that they spent money to register groups and so on, but the money is not forthcoming and they are losing patience. It could be possible that the procedure being followed is so cumbersome or something else, but otherwise I think the money should be sent as fast as possible to the districts. Because it's becoming a thorny issue in the campaigns of most of us who are not even responsible for this Nyoga. But they are saying you are the people in Parliament, so where is this money? We are becoming victims. Now, the loan obligation UTL. UTL borrowed money, and I think they have not been able to pay. Did government guarantee this money? And how is government going to be indemnified in this arrangement? Because I cannot understand, you lent this, they borrowed money as a corporate, and through the operation they expected to pay. Why is the government being the one made to pay for this obligation? UTL, I think, has not turned any dividends to the government, so paying a sum of, was it 50 billion, 45 billion? Yeah, it's a huge sum of money. You know, we really need to see the paperwork supporting all this. Then the Ministry of Health, I think we need to be properly updated on the previous funds that were appropriated to the ministry in the war against COVID, what we have been able to achieve so far. In other words, some kind of accountability for results. We have the commitments made by the ministry on why they took the money. So we might need some detailed accountability on what has been achieved. Now, the roads in the DRC, I think we would expect the likes of sovereign guarantees from the other government of DRC, because we are spending money outside our territory. And I think our constitution has not given us the power to spend money on roads outside our territory. You know, I think if that money is spent, that arrangement has to receive prior authorization from Parliament. And indeed, that's what we are doing. But we want to see the paperwork that have been involved in this deal. We agree that we have a lot of trade going on between Uganda and Congo, and that trade is being constrained by the quality of roads connecting Uganda with the DRC. But we want to make sure that before we take a decision on this matter, we are properly brought on board on the issues and all the supporting documentation, the agreements that have been reached, and so on and so forth. Then the issue of deemed energy. We have looked at this deemed energy as wasteful expenditure because it's money that we are paying in several billions. In the budget we approved some. Now you are requesting for 50 billion again for deemed energy. This is energy that has been generated but not consumed, simply because the transmission lines are not there. Wouldn't this have been the lack of proper planning? How could you have a dam before the transmission lines were constructed? You know? Doesn't that constitute lack of proper planning, and somebody should be made accountable for this? For the country that is surviving on borrowing, to donate this amount of money, to an investor who is generating money, generating power, which power is not being consumed, to us it looks like a very serious abuse. Finally, from me, the issue of the sources of funding. On record we have here, you are borrowing. And you have promised that you will present this borrowing to Parliament. If you suppress, of course you know the rules governing suppression, you know all the laws governing suppression. So either way, I think you need to provide more supporting documents in that regard. For now, those are my comments. Yes, Charles?
Thank you, Chair. Giving me the opportunity. I have a comment on the first comment I have is on 2.1, the 1 billion that was the
Well, this money has already been paid from the previous term. And we were wondering, Chair, yes, the President directed, do we have a Department of Vaccine Development now in State House? Do we have a Department of Vaccine Development? Why wasn't this money, if it was going, say, to Naro, which is, I think, struggling to develop it, why wasn't it sent there? Yes, 2.1, that 1 billion there. We're just looking at accountability now. The second one is on 2.3. On 2.3, you're saying you've already allocated 110 billion to cater for Emioga on the 3%, although in Schedule 2 you are asking for more money. Let's first deal with Schedule 1. The Minister of Microfinance came to the House recently and he brought a report on the Emioga. If I remember it vividly, members will remind me, the minister told us that he has 30 billion available, which he will start distributing in November. He said he has 30 billion available, which he will start distributing in November. And then he said, because of the creation of the new districts, he needs another 36 billion, which should come through a supplementary. Here you are telling us already that you gave 110. 30 plus 36, or 30 which was already in the budget, and then the 36. Don't you think this 110 would have covered? Who is lying? Is it the minister? Who is lying us that he doesn't have money and needs a supplementary? Or you who are telling us that you have already given 110 to Emioga? Okay, the other one on the Minister of Health, I'll spare here and then ask the question when it comes to the second schedule. Chairman, with the 2.12, you have already made an observation about it. Although we thank you for being a little polite, but what I know, Parliament rejected this. It wasn't that they were still considering. We outrightly rejected. And we might have to explain to the House why, they went against our proposal and decided to pay this from the 3%. Chair, on local governments, Chair, that is 2.15, still schedule 1. They are telling us number 1 is 2.857 was provided to the local government from the supplementary for COVID that was returned from the honorable members of Parliament. I think the total supplementary was 10 billion, but you only returned 2.87. Well, I want to give my own district. We are about 4 MPs. Each one of us returned 20 million. That means what? 80 million. How much money did you give Ukumi according to your schedule? You gave 36. Where is the balance? Where is the balance? Chairman, on the same note, towards the end of the year when we are appropriating money, the money in our wisdom, we decided to send directly to local governments and the President's office against your wish that the money goes to the Minister of Local Government. We sent some money to the local governments, which money you followed with a letter from Secretary of Treasury to be returned to a certain account that you opened, task force, revenue, or whatever account which you opened. Chair, can you request the Minister to also provide us a breakdown of what is happening in that account? It's a government account. It's a government account of non-tax revenue, and it's Parliament to appropriate the money which is in it. Can they also provide us how much money went into that account last year, and if it went to the consolidated account for which you're asking for appropriation? Because this money we returned, we advised the cows, we also advised to send it to that non-tax revenue account of the National COVID Task Force. So let's get the details of that account for proper accountability. But also answer why in our districts we returned more money and you sent them less money when actually the money was still there. Where is the balance? Oh, now I think with Schedule 2, the one which needs prior approval, I have a comment on 4.4, Chair. This one directly affects some of us who come from TESO. You are proposing to allocate 30 billion for compensation of the verified work claimants in Acholi. I think at an opportune time or soon, because this is urgent, you should provide us the details of the verified claimants, which I know is more than 30 billion. And now you are planning to work on the what? The process of payment. Who are you going to give first the 10 billion that you are giving in TESO, so that it doesn't bring what? Now, 4.5, you already gave, Chair, they already gave 110 billion for Emioga in the 3%. And remember, I told you that the minister told us here he only wanted 36 for the new district to add on the 30 which he wants to distribute in November. Now you gave 110. you are still asking for another 50 billion for only Kampala and Wakiso. What's going on here? Can you explain that? Can you coordinate the letter of the minister and the supplemental that you are asking here before maybe we can approve this? Minister of Health, thank you for struggling. Although things are now almost out of control to some of us, we are now completely scared. It was reported somewhere, and I think maybe you're addressing a certain workshop over there, when you said some lazy commissioners are failing you to work. I don't know whether it is true that you said it, but it was awash in social media. Even when you try to discipline them, you are taken to court. It was reported that. But you're asking for a lot of money for the work for which those commissioners are supposed to help you execute. If it was true that you did complain about the lazy workforce you have, how are you going to execute this work with these colossal sums of money that you want, given the statement you made? Can you also explain to me, when we go to our districts, our constituencies, here people are complaining of lack of drugs, I think even in Kayonga, that the drugs are brought and only 1 week they are finished. And the government does supply essential drugs, we know that. Do you use the statistics, daily statistics of the prevalence of diseases to procure the essential drugs? Have you reviewed the essential drug program of yours? Because some diseases now have come in which have necessitated procurement of drugs for them as the essentials. Or you are still using the old statistics? Because drugs cannot be supplied to a health center and within 1 week they are finished. Are they stolen? Are they what? Or you don't have good statistics to procure drugs? Then, Madam Pierre, since you're here, I don't know, I need to be advised. There used to be policies we were told of push, pull, as far as supply of drugs is concerned to health centers. Do they still work? And then there was funding on credit line, which some hospitals even used not to absorb. Are they still there? Can you explain that to us before we commit ourselves to this 150 billion? How is it going to work? Is it going straight to national medical stores? Under what? Is it push, under pull, credit line? Can you explain it to us, Chair? Chair, we would also want the PS to give us a breakdown, the actual interventions they want to use this 50 billion for. Because they are simply saying they want additional 50 billion funding requirement to support health interventions. We had a problem last year. We know this is a new disease that's giving a lot of challenges. But there are also experiences that you got from dealing with it. We gave you money. You even gave money to regional hospitals. At a certain time, a video went viral of a certain lady that was arrested. We were trying to flee the country, I don't know, who was brought to Masaka. And she gave us the hell which was in Masaka. Of course you rejected it, you refuted the allegation. But immediately you refuted the allegation, the next day you started renovating the facility. Let's be sincere in this country. If something is wrong, it's wrong. If somebody has informed us what is happening, accept, apologize, and other demonizing the person, she had a hidden motive. Do you get COVID to bring out your, is it proper that you first go and get COVID so that you bring a hidden motive that the hospital was not renovated? Let's be a little bit serious. So let's have the exact interventions where you want the money to go, so that when we allocate the money, we know it's going here. Police force, Chair, we had allocated some money towards the end of the year. I don't know how much you gave to the police on the 3%, or you never gave. What is the total outstanding? And if we gave the 30 billion, what will remain outstanding? Then with the NADS, we're in trouble. These are we remember Honorable Bahati, you remember the house we were promised they were named? And we have not given the house. Is this among, will this cater for even the house? Some of us may have suffered casualties because of the house. I think that's all. Oh, there is finally 4.12 on this supplementary for the seed schools and health centers that you are completing. Maybe you'll tell education and health to give us a list of those health centers, where they are, and what has so far been paid and what is still outstanding, and what what percentage this 110.294 can cater for. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those comments. Any other comments?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry I came a bit late. But I want to thank the Ministry of Finance for their submission and the colleagues for the supplements they have given. Chair, I just want to, my colleague has talked about this idea, this 2.1, where we are talking about anti-tick money for anti-tick vaccines being taken to Ministry of Health, to State House, when there's a line ministry. And Honorable Chair, it appears there is something which is becoming irregular and common, because I'm again seeing the details. You find veterinary supplies again being taken to Ministry of Health. I do not understand why. Yeah, in this details, this page 1 of 2, this details, these ones here. So I do not understand why allocations are being given to wrong ministries when the proper line ministries are in existence. Why, for instance, veterinary supplies don't go to Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Industries, so that you save the burden, you save Ministry of Health from the burden of going to areas where they do not have expertise, just like State House Chair. So I think Ministry of Finance needs to clarify on some of this. Then too, Honorable Chair, I want to add my voice to yours, that 2.12 may pose a challenge, much as it is something which is already spent. But I remember as Parliament there was a problem with this, and we asked Finance and URA to give us some clarification. Honorable Chair, Minister of Finance did not turn up. I think the Minister came and said it was URA to provide us with more details. Now the URA people kept on asking for more time, that they were preparing information. The officers said they were new and they needed more time to get back to us and provide the clarification the Parliament wanted.
This is about the law.
That clarification never came, and the Parliament stayed this application, this payment. Now, when Finance goes ahead to effect payment, which Parliament has stayed, now it means there's a conflict between the two arms of government. We are not communicating at the same page. Parliament says this payment is irregular, do not effect it. For you go ahead and say, then you come and say, you refuse, but now we have paid, you approve it, whether you like it or not. I think this is not how government works, Honorable Chair. This 2.12 payment for the digital stamps. Because then there's no need of coming back to Parliament. You don't need to get approval of this. So, Chair, I think this committee needs to take serious stand on this. And the same, Chair, on page 5, 2.14, we did express similar sentiments with the 6-point payment for tea seedlings. We said these seedlings were actually not supplied. There were issues with this, even the NADS, when they came, they could not provide supporting documents to prove that these tea seedlings were supplied. We even, Minister of Agriculture, as a Committee of Agriculture, we even went to Zombo, for instance. And the people there told us clearly
government should not pay because there was no seedling supplied. But I'm surprised, Mr. Chair, Honorable Chair, that even when Parliament made a position, government went ahead and paid for non-existing supply. Chair, only 50 billion for various to clear the verified utility areas. Honorable Chair, one of the recommendations Parliament took was that national water and storage corporations should be supported, should be given resources so that people are not disconnected during the COVID period. Honorable Chair, I do not know why Ministry of Finance, whereas it has supported other entities, we want to know the details of this, and why is National Water and Sewerage, which is a very essential service provider, not catered for under this 50 billion for payment? Because National Water is disconnecting consumers, especially up country. So, right, Honorable Chair, I would request Minister of Finance to give us a clarification as to why they did not include National Water and Sewerage Corporation among the entities to benefit from this 50, because they are providing essential services, and Parliament directed them not to charge and disconnect, but they have operational costs. They need to operate. Then, Chair, on the issue of payment of COVID money, I have seen Kampala, I've seen Tororo, and in Tororo we are 6 members of Parliament. We all returned the money. So I expected government to have released 120 million to Tororo, plus
the other one which cover return.
Oh, okay. So I expected Parliament, Finance to have released 120 million to Toro, because we are 6 members of Parliament. We all returned the money, and we have got evidence that this money was returned, and the guideline was return this money, then it will be appropriated back to the district. So, Chair, those are some of the things I needed. And I just want to say something about this payment of UTL bill. Chair, it is now evident that Ministry of Finance does not have capacity to manage some of these entities, though they still want to cling on more. They want to get more. They have been clamoring for NSSF, but they don't have the capacity to manage these entities. They have mismanaged UTL, they have mismanaged Uganda Railways Corporation, they want to mismanage NSSF, they have mismanaged Uganda Property Holdings. You can count any entity that has been placed at the Ministry of Finance. And it becomes very unfair, Honorable Chair, that Ministry of Finance should be now should be committing Ugandan taxpayers to commit more money, 45 billion, to pay for the loans that they acquired for UTL, when actually they have run down these entities. I think it is high time Parliament, maybe a private member, I don't know whether it's within, we shall study this. We need to come up very fast and remove all these entities from Ministry of Finance to save government from suffering more colossal losses. Because these entities are just, Ministry of Finance, the truth is they want more, but they don't have capacity. They don't have competence, they don't have capacity to manage these entities, but they still want more. I even wonder why they are clamoring for NSSF. You want to run down NSSF also? They become a lot. So, Chair, we need to take a firm stand on this loan, which they are asking 45.6 billion that they want to pay loans because of their own incompetence and mismanagement of it. And yet they are the ones struggling to capture these entities, leave these entities, their parent ministries, where they can be well managed. Then I have seen something on the works, Mr. Honorable Chair. Chair, I see the general is. I've seen the general. I have no quarrel with general getting there, but my problem is that general, you know that the roads are just impassable. The roads are impassable. You even started some projects, you abandon them along the way. And I get surprised. I thought you would have asked for money, to be given money as a supplementary to make our roads passable. Now, you only want to make, where there's even travel restrictions, we are not supposed to go to DRC, you are asking for money to connect roads with the DRC and something like that. I thought we would have asked for money to enable you complete like the interconnectivity projects which you have, they are stalled. You have got, our roads are basically impassable. So I don't know why you are rushing for this support, when actually you need the money to make our roads internally here impassable. So, General, I think you need, I'm not quarreling with you over this, but I'm saying you should have done better to make our roads fast what? Passable, other than fast making. Who's going to DRC now? There's COVID. We don't know when this COVID will end. Nobody needs to go to DRC. Then on page 8, Ministry of Finance has noted under 4.1 that there's always a persistent shortfall. This is Uganda Police. Now, if the shortfall is always persistent, why is it persistent? Why can't the planners in that area do better forecast? So, no, but it's about forecast, because you're saying there's always persistent shortfall. And then here, I've noted that we are giving money to prisons. And the reason they're saying there is increased number of inmates. I have been up country, and I've noticed that most of these inmates are actually petty offenders. People fight. I've followed up. I have around 40 people who have been arrested in my constituency, and most of them are just petty offenders. Now you're asking government to give money to feed these petty offenders. People fought in the bar, assault. These are the things, and they connive with the police. There is connivance between the police, state attorneys, and those three. They process the files. If you don't give them money, they take you to police, to prison. Now we end up with this one in prison. These are petty offenders. Why is DPP? Why is police? The judiciary? Why are they conniving? Because they are using this as an avenue for making money. Pet offenders are the ones feeding prisons. Now you have a burden of feeding these pet offenders. I think something needs to be done as a government, so that we avoid creating this problem. Something needs to be solved. Chair, I want to thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yes, I have a question for you.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair, on 2.12, the issue of Uganda Revenue Authority. At that time, the concern of the committee was for government to have taken a decision to invest in a deep-salt storm. We must have had some analysis of what will be the impact over a certain period, to look at the viability of that investment. And that information up to today has not been provided. Okay? So the question was, yes, we are going to this. What will be the impact of that investment in terms of the tax revenue to regenerate? Because the assumption was that we were losing a lot of tax revenue because of not stamping the products that come out from the production line. To me, this was an assumption, okay? As to whether it is true or not, we needed some scientific basis so that we use that as a basis for making that decision. And I think that was the reason why we kind of stayed on that particular issue. Secondly, on 4.4, you are aware actually compensation, especially in the West Nile region, has not been considered. In fact, if you go to the ground now, because this is a time for politics, this is an issue which is being raised very strongly. That whereas other regions are being compensated, West Nile seems to have been forgotten. And there's somebody from there, I need to echo that because it is important. For lost as a result of the war victim. 4.4, I was referring to 4.4. West Nile. I still want to re-echo the fact that under 4.6 Ministry of Health, we need to specify what other interventions are there, especially for the 50 billion, okay? On the investment in Congo, as far as the roads are concerned, again, this is an area where I think we need more information. You see, it's important to take certain strategic decisions as long as they are in the strategic interest of this country. But it's also very important for us to base those decisions on some scientific basis. Okay? So my plea, as the chair would say, I think we need more information on that. We want to promote our exports. The question is, when we do that investment, what is the likely outturn? Those are things we need, okay? So we need more information on that. I think the other issues have been raised. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Finally, if I invite you to respond, Mr. Minister, the reason in the first quarter to the various MDAs actually fell far too short of what was expected. In fact, most projects are now grounded. They have come to halt. A clear example is the Ministry of Works itself, where the minister comes from. We see these projects in our constituencies. The road works stopped on account of lack of funding. And the programs that we have been expecting, where contractors have actually already been identified and the contract signed, these are not being implemented on account of lack of funds within the ministry. And it's not one ministry, several ministries. And the reason was that you did not have funding. Now, you are coming up with a supplementary of 3.4 trillion. We want to understand you. Are you now saying that what we passed is no longer a priority and you are now readjusting the budget to accommodate these supplementary requests? Is that what you are saying? Because you alluded to the fact that you are now suppressing the original approvals to account for these new requests. I think you need to explain this. Thank you.
So, Chair, I will respond to a few of them and then I'll ask the Minister for what.
I'm not making any contribution.
Did you put up your arm, madam? Did you put up your arm?
I did.
You did?
Yeah. I'm very far away from the COVID.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, we want to keep our social distance. Mr. Chairman, this supplementary comes as a surprise to me
because there are so many issues that have been left unresolved. I've looked at the minister's talking notes, and I'm a bit surprised that the minister has not come to us, want to explain the budget adjustment that was demanded by Parliament. Because when the budget was presented, it was very obvious that it was, what I would say, it was over-exaggerated. It was too big a budget. And it was agreed that the ministry would go back and scale down and then come back and brief Parliament on how the budget has now been streamlined to fit in within our demands at the time. Because we did realize that with the COVID, there were so many expenditures that were supposed to be put in the budget but were not necessary. We have not seen it here, because we should have been told that where the government should have spent money, because of COVID, the money was not spent. We have not seen it here, and that's a very big exercise. We were expecting the Ministry of Finance to come back and tell us what has now happened to that revised budget which we passed in April, May. I have not seen it, but that should have been part of this to justify the supplementary you are bringing here. Mr. Chairman, I find it difficult to apply my intellectual understanding to what the minister is trying to talk about, because unless you understand the root, it's very difficult to understand the substance. Looking at your notes, Mr. Minister, maybe I should just highlight the most obvious because of time. Schedule 1. I think I totally agree with my colleagues. Some of you in the ministry are actually blackmailing State House. Look at your record. How many times have you asked for classified expenditure under State House? It is hell. That is giving a very bad image to State House. Is this money really required? When was it the last time you asked for classified expenditure and a lot of money? Not small thing. I think we need to look at it and also be conscious of the fact that don't use the name of State House in order to get money easily for other expenditures. And the most obvious, of course, is election, which is very near. Secondly, still under State House, I totally agree with my colleague. Let it go under the line ministry. Mr. Chairman, you remember the issue of banana experiment has never ended. We spent a lot of money and all those researches. So I think don't waste our time. If you are going to approve this, you will prove it against my consent. Coming to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I definitely know the horrific state in which Foreign Affairs is experiencing at the moment. But because of the obvious cases which has been highlighted in the media, the issue of corruption, we want to fully understand whether it is good for us to approve additional spending to a sector which is known to be promoting corruption at the moment. And most obviously, you speak about it on Zoom, how to appropriate money to yourselves. So I'm talking about foreign affairs. So I'm scared to put in public money in an area which obviously has been identified as promoting corruption. Now, vote 008, Ministry of Finance. This is a Nyoga thing. In case my colleagues don't know, some of us who care to know. this Enyoga thing has been used to collect signatures of members of Enyoga in order to do other things. We have come to know of it. It has happened all over the place, and that this is very dangerous, because we told the minister on the floor of parliament, the minister of Enyoga, of this microfinance, we told him that why are you leaving members of parliament out of this program, when actually it's a rural program. We are all interested. Nobody explained to us, but now we came to discover that it was just to collect the signatures, and we know where those signatures have gone. So as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Chairman, I must be told 2 days, actually now 1 day to the end of the financial year. You remember we approved supplementary, the budget committee, you remember? And I issued a statement. I said, how can this money be disbursed in 1 day? And I was told it would be disbursed in 1 day. I followed it up. I discovered it was not disbursed in 1 day. I need an explanation why you lied to us, because there is no way practically the money we approved a day to the end of the financial year could have been disbursed on that particular day. The truth is, it was not done, and I can see that figure being recycled. The 50 billion for the microfinance has resurfaced, and the money for UDB has resurfaced, and these are issues I had raised. I knew it would come, and I told you it would come. Now, let's continue. With agriculture, I've got very little quarrel, but still, I have my fears here and there. But let me just touch on the most obvious for the Minister of Finance. Now, page 4, vote 2, paragraph 212, vote 141. The Revenue Authority, I think this one should not come here because I think it was rejected. I have not seen any explanation that would now convince the committee. Mr. Chairman, I'm sure you remember that. Under paragraph 214, Mr. Chairman, again, this has been demanded by Parliament over and over again, that the ministry need to table before Parliament a comprehensive stimulus package in order to guide the country, guide the economy, how we are going to move in this pandemic. I have not seen it. I'm anxiously waiting for it. Now I'm seeing a supplementary. And Mr. Chairman, I'm even more curious when this supplementary is talking about rent, talking about recurrent expenditures. I get scared, because why would recurrent expenditure not be covered in the budget? Why should it be part of this? So, Mr. Chairman, I'm not very comfortable with that. I want to skip local government. I have other comments to make after that. Now, when you come to your to the page 6, paragraph 4.3, again, you remember that cannot happen. These are foreseeable incidences which should have been budgeted for. That why are we asking for money for UTL when you know that UTL is under receivership? Have we resolved the issue of UTL? And if you have resolved the issue, how are we moving? As Parliament being briefed on how we are moving, so that we now know that we are we now have a new venture which has been put in place, and this is the direction we are moving. Can we have it done? Has it been formally adopted? What has the cabinet approved? and what the cabinet has approved, why has it not been brought to Parliament? Why are you now coming for funding before we are briefed on what has happened to UTL? So I think it is important. This is completely out of order. I'm not going to be a party to the approval of that unless I fully understand what this money is for. Mr. Chairman, the Ministry of Health has my personal sympathy. I fought for it, and I stepped on many people's toes. But the Ministry of Finance has disappointed me. Seriously. My own district, where I come from, the chief lobbies for their money, I don't have a single mask. Every time I go there, Mr. Chairman, I can give you receipts. I spend 2.5 million buying masks. 2.5 million buying masks every time I go to my district. Because I don't want to collect the people in a room like this and they don't have masks. And I've been doing it very religiously, and I've spent a lot of money. I've not seen masks in my area. I've not seen ambulance in my area. All these expenditures that were paraded before us to get money from the budget committee, I have not seen it on the ground. Madam Permanent Secretary, what is happening in your yard? So, as far as I'm concerned, I need accountability. I need accountability for the non-tax revenue. The donation which was given to you, we need to appropriate it. So may we know in which account is it? The minister understands my language very well. This is a non-tax revenue. It has been collected. In which account is it? And then the social media is circulating a story which says the money which was donated has been stolen. Now, we don't know whether stolen from the permanent secretary's briefcase, from her garage, or from where. So, really, the country must be told. I was in tears when I saw some little children giving State House, giving the president 5,000 shillings for COVID. So emotional. And you don't come out with accountability for that child, 5,000 shillings. I think we should be responsible. And you are coming back without shame to ask for additional money. So, Chair, I think the Ministry of Finance should guide health on how they should proceed on the supplement. We are very, very sympathetic. We want to know how did they spend the money we gave them. We painfully looked for that money. We scraped that money. We even fought each other in Parliament to make sure health got money. Where has that money? Where is the gap? Where have you put the donation money? So that we can clearly identify the gap and understand how to deal with it. So, Mr. Chairman, my brother, the general, is completely different from other generals who attack women on the streets or point pistols at women or anybody. It's completely a very, very sober, very human general. I respect him a lot. But on the issue of DRC road project, that's where we may have to go our different ways. because Mr. Chairman, I cannot imagine that my dear brother would demand this much money in order to fulfill the obligations inside DRC when there are so many outstanding projects for which we have talked about, and you felt very uncomfortable the last time you made a presentation on the floor of Parliament. And let me share it with the committee for those who are not there. We discovered that the bulk of your work is in the West. Yes, and you were ashamed. And they gave you facts. And we found that outstanding, horrible roads, the worst of it is in the North. You have done nothing about that up to now. We have continuously given you money. I have personally taken interest, even to make sure I pushed some of my nephews in the ministry to give extra money for the district roads, for the district bridges, and you have continued to ignore my district, the North generally. Yes, so I must speak for them. They are not here, and but they told you the other day, one of the roads which is giving us a lot of discomfort is Kamdini Road. That one is now going to be a death trap if nothing is done about it. So, Mr. Chairman, I think let me be brief. I'm sorry I was a bit late, and that's why I took time to go through the notes. But this debate, I wish we could maybe postpone it for a while, so that the committee should do more thorough analysis of what the minister has presented before we can give our position. But definitely, the minister has not complied to the several requests we have made regarding the last budget we passed, and also regarding the supplementary you have just presented. I thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much for that extensive presentation. Allow me to begin to respond. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and colleagues for the information and your advice, and this is part and parcel of the approval process. And they are happy and glad that I have not received the full work from the Honorable Barbara Wow. So I'm sure that this process will be probably very smooth given her lecture today. On the issue of UTM, it is true that UTM is under receivership, but they had got money from the then PTA Bank. This is a company that belongs to us. It is important that we clear that obligation. Clearly, it has something to do with our reputation in the international community. Yes, there are these internal processes, but we borrowed money to finance UTM. It's now under receivership. The bank is a different entity. So this is why we come in as government. So let's pay the obligation of the money that UTM borrowed, so that we settle this matter, because also it affects other borrowing capacities of our country. So that's where we come from.
Yeah, but when is the receivership going to end?
We can provide information. I think it's No. We will give you, this afternoon we can give you more details. This afternoon we'll give you more details. The other issue is about the deemed energy. This is a debate that keeps coming every financial year. But the baby has already been born. So we must really respect this. Yes, we have already committed ourselves. We have contracts. The energy has been generated, and if we don't use it, we must pay for it. That's the situation we are in.
And this is the same argument that we keep bringing to the budget committee, to the Committee of Natural Resources, to the entire House, to say that we already have contracts running. We have already committed. Power has been generated. There is no way you can say cancel the contract because the power is there. There is no way you can say don't generate the power. So what we are doing, as you know, we are now investing more in transmission and distribution. For example, you approved a loan of almost $200 million to start with the transmission substations for the 6 industrial parks. We think that if we invest more in these projects, then the power will be consumed and this problem will be resolved. On the seedlings, I think Nats will answer. On West Nile, this compensation is being handled by the Office of the Attorney General. The Lango, and I was expecting the Honorable City of Waru to make a comment on this compensation. Then actually, I don't know whether West Nile is part of this. So we are going to get a report this afternoon.
Does that involve animals?
No. That's good.
That's
Yes.
This is for cattle.
Because more claimants are different. There are many. Some lost lorries, some lost lives, some lost animals.
Yes.
So which one are you talking about?
That's why we are basically talking about cows. They are the ones who are having a lot of pressure. But we are going to get the verification report from the Office of the Attorney General and submit it to the clerk this afternoon. Yeah, and then you can see whether West Nile is part of this. But what we are sure of is that Choi, Teso, and Lango. How are they going to share this 30 billion? I think the Office of the Attorney General will have the formula on how to get this. But I think it's important because those of you who have been in the field, it's an issue that keeps coming at least to government. Where is our money for compensation? Where is the money for compensation? And we think we should not let that.
Bringing this compensation money when the campaigns are started is going to cost hell in the 3 regions. And as an elder who comes from that place, I would want to caution you. You cannot pour this money in Teso, in Lamo, in Acholi, at the time when we are actually in the middle of campaigns. How do you handle it? And we are politicians. You are one of them. You were shown on social media giving people money cash. When actually you did not. It's true, you did not.
Yeah.
I know that. But you were shown doing it. Now you are bringing us money when we are already in the campaign. How do you expect me to guide or to verify whether people are demanding this money falsely or not?
No, these are Mama, these are verified. These are verified claimants by the Office of the Attorney General, and the report is there. This process has been going on for so many years, and the reports are there. If you are advising that we should do nothing about it, we can have a meeting in Lango and advise us with the leaders who have been.
I'm not talking about Lango, I'm talking about the entire region.
Yes, but the process has been going on now. And as you know, even during the elections, government moves on. During the election, we have the president, we have the government functioning. Even holes, we are procuring, and as soon as they come, we shall distribute. We are not going to stop doing work of government because of elections. Yes,
sir. In line with what the senior colleague Bahati is saying, I think she's saying it out of experience. You're going to pay this money during the time of campaign. But when you look at the amounts, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You're going to pick on some people and pay them. You know the repercussion. Then those who have got the money vote. So be very, very careful the way you're going to handle this.
Okay, we take your advice. What you're advising that maybe
Or it will backfire.
We can handle it in the fourth quarter, beginning with February or something. That's what we are saying. That maybe we can start in February.
So you can start over.
No, the supplementary must go on. The supplementary must go on so that during this financial year, if we find those complications, then we can seek your advice. But during the financial year, coming back to the house is not as simple as you think, Chair.
But the problem, finance is so slippery. The moment you give them certificate of approval, they will run away, you can't touch them.
Well, the little time I have here, Chair, the little time I have in government, I've not seen a ministry as strong as Ministry of Finance. We are very far. We are not slippery.
We approved money for Sudan traders up to now. It has become a very serious matter. And yet we approved it. We gave you the cash, 76 billion.
But you have the other
The money has ended up in private pockets.
But you have the other
because there are many people have not got their money.
So I think I need
So
protection.
giving finance money has become a problem.
I wish I could do that.
Allow the minister to respond.
So, the other one was the digital stamps. And maybe I can first answer the question of Honorable Silobara when he says he warned us that the first supplementary will not be spent in hours. But as we call Honorable we in the House, when that question was asked, we say we are going to try and implement parliamentary appropriation decision that we have taken. But in case it does not happen in the hours that we had agreed, we will use other technical measures to implement the decision. And this is what we did. This is what we did. After approval of Parliament, we could not spend the money in 2 hours, 3 hours, but we use this now 3% to implement the decision that we had taken. And the whole thing was really to implement the ultimate, the substance of the matter was that we need to put money under UDP, which were put 455, put money under UDC, or put 100 billion. So now they have and people should be utilizing it. The quarterly release is not enough. Budget, can you respond to that? We do not blackmail State House. This should be corrected. Ministry of Finance cannot decide on the requests, rather cannot initiate requests from different funds. When these funds submit their requests, we process them according to the laws. We would not go to State House and say, State House, you initiate this. So therefore the issue of blackmail really is not there. This money is needed by State House to do urgent work to help the state move forward. It's very, very urgent. And I think the chair of the committee, I don't know what the procedure says, because the chair of the committee sits on classified committee which was put in place by Parliament. The chair, Honorable Gorobi, sits on that. He knows the obligations which are there. These are the obligations that continue coming. He knows, therefore...
Yeah, but before you bring them to me, you take the trouble to scrutinize them.
They say you know.
You know.
Before you engage me.
Yes, we do.
I will scrutinize them.
Yes, we do. We do before we... So classified will be whereas you can make a clarification maybe to the committee at some stage. And once the chairperson and the committee of classified agrees to this classified expenditure, then that's what the rules say by Parliament. But what I know, therefore, the strategic reasons of the security of the country and for the betterment of our
Yeah, procedural guidance would have lasted the Minister of Finance to simply tell us that this we shall provide the committee of classified expenditure. No laboring to do that. But just a casual explanation is first 3% 200 billion. We don't want the intricacies about how the money is spent. That 3% 200 billion. prior approval still, we've just left the first quarter, 250. In the 3 months, we are already going to do state house further. Without bothering what the chairman may know in this committee, look at the project now, how much do you expect to spend at the end of the year? And what is the budget of state house? How much do you have to pay to state house?
Well, I think that's very
The public is going to look at
We have the
it.
state house PS here, the PS, the county.
Is the public going to look at
The county officer
what
will
is
tell us.
450 billion? And I think the provision is maybe about 500, even less than 500.
So, Honorable, I think
On
that,
top of the budget.
as you said, the classified committee will look at it and advise all of us.
No, actually, I think the advice was, I think the minister of management was the minister of community, Honorable Cecilia was trying to say. The point is not, I do not think my colleague was trying to say this money should not be given. What we are saying here is that you are making State House look ugly. Why don't we just lift the ceiling for State House and we make a realistic budgeting? We know, for instance, like now, you in the previous state, you say State House needs money to be employment. The other one, prior approval, 250. Now, you're making State House, I don't know they're using to justify others because you didn't have us. Just one of, say, let's give State House 1 trillion. Instead of making State House look like, you're making it look ugly. That's the concept. We are not against the money. No, don't think like that. What we are saying, we are not comfortable seeing all the time you're looking State House, every supplemental State House. It's like you are trying to show that even State House is getting about us. So what we are saying, to avoid making State House look ugly, just say, even if you come one of, like the first one of, put just 1 trillion, we approve it for State House. Even if it is 2 trillion, we approve it for State House. But that they don't have this idea of every someone they read in the house there. State House. That's the spirit. It's not against. Don't mistake that anybody is saying. Don't give the man no.
Okay, that's one procedure we can look at. We looked at it, I think 3 years ago when we increased the ceiling of State House. But
no, we have done it several times before. I've been in this committee.
Yeah.
We have done it before. So we need to be guided appropriately. What is the actual demand of State House? So that we can plan for it. We can say this year we are going to give this ceiling. Then we can plug up the hole. Because now, every year you make State House look really greedy. And in an environment where people are suffering with COVID, people are dying, and yet you are presenting State House. State House is eating all the resources. So we don't have anything left for the Ministry of Health to help you with. Because State House has eaten it all. This is very ugly. This is what I'm saying here. The good thing, I'm not part of government. But if I was in government, I would sack you. But you can't do that. You are presenting a very ugly face of the president.
We are looking at State House 400 billion.
Exactly. Can you imagine? And no justification, nothing. So we have to employ a private PR firm to defend the president. The president cannot come here and defend his own people. Some of us are here to defend him because we feel in his heart he's a good man. But the people working around him are trying to find avenues where they can use his name and get away with money.
No, but I think you must be clear, Honorable, because you are saying you are not against this expenditure. But what you are against is the procedure. And we are telling you as finance, we cannot give the supplementary as and when it is requested. We are not going because we don't have the resources. You cannot now put an advert or a communication to the entire government that you bring what you need for the whole year. No. As and when they present their supplementaries is when we process them. But it's a good idea to say that can we also maybe look at the ceiling that this money is for State House. It's not for any other ministry. And therefore, there is no way Minister of Finance can use that to finance something. There is no. And this, remember, this supplementary is approved by Cabinet. So I appreciate your support on Syria for the President, but also I'm requesting that you support his request to finance this activity. The issue of the yoga, you say the Honorable Chair that the speed is low. We'll look at this, but I think the Minister of Microfinance has stated to the House that in November, we expect, which is next month, we expect this money to have reached the destination. That is the constituencies. So the 3 months we have been trying to form the groups. I'm going to get more information from Mama Cecilia where these signatures are going from the groups. Then we will see also how to take it up. Vaccine, and
before you go there, I think you raised some pertinent issue. The statement made by the minister.
He has 30 million, and he needs another 36 for the new district.
Yeah.
Before he starts the distribution in November. You gave 110.
You're oversupplying.
For another 50 for the Wakiso. Why are these two statements inconsistent? The minister's report to Parliament and then you are demand an appropriation.
But
maybe you just go and look at the two and then come back to the committee.
Yeah, but from what we know,
because we are no longer
from what we know, I don't know when the minister and what context it was mentioned in the certificate, but the 100.
The minister presented the report before the House on the Nyonga. He did. And he actually said he has 30 billion in his what? And he said it was ready. But he said because of the districts you created, he needs another 36.
Maybe a balance.
It has to be the balance. No, we shall cross check. But what we know, this is a supplementary that was requested, and it's a supplementary that we are processing. We can never at all
on top of that,
oversupply.
He told us that we should support him when he brings the supplementary.
Which is
because this is but we already given money on the 3%, we are just approving.
Yeah.
110, we already given.
Which is over and above the demand.
What he wanted us to approve.
It's over and above what he demanded. So I think what we can do is to look for the hazard.
Yes, and
because the minister responsible for the subsector. So what we do, we pick the hazard, we see what he says, and that's what we shall appropriate. Because he said it, and this was the hazard.
But what we can do, we can maybe ask him to send a supplementary clarification to the committee.
He gave a report to the House, and the House is aware of what the minister asked. We can't change that again.
Now that we are
just going to get the hazard and approve what the minister requested, addition. As the chairman has stated.
Otherwise, he can face a dispute.
Yes. Because when we go back to the House, Honorable Chairman, what shall we tell the House? That we are approving 110 when the minister requested 36.
150.
150 when the minister requested 36.
For the entire country.
That's what he said, kept the report.
It was actually 66.
That is not possible, but we are going to look at the report.
Okay.
We are going to look at the report. Because it is very straightforward.
Yes.
If you say we have 400 and something constituencies, if you multiply 600 million, how much would that be? It can't be 30 billion.
But even the appropriation is 100 billion.
Yes, even appropriation alone
you
is 100.
as Parliament.
What you appropriated is 100 billion. So there is no way you can say
this is over
you oversupply.
Because you are out of 100, you are giving him 30.
Yes. Now, the last one.
No. Before you leave my yoga, you are availing 110 to the entire country.
210.
The entire country is 210. So we appropriated 100 billion.
Yes.
We added 110 supplementary.
Yes.
And we are adding 50 billion for Kampala. So Kampala and Wakiso.
Yes. So
the entire amount of money we are appropriating for MIO, this important program, is 260 billion.
For the whole country.
Yeah. How much are you availing each district?
We're actually using a unit of a constituency. And that amount can be given through the supplement.
Okay.
Because I know that also there is a discussion going on in cabinet now.
Yeah, I think let's have a breakdown.
Okay.
So that we know what to expect in our districts and constituencies.
Procedure, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Procedure. Mr. Chairman, we have had a similar problem when we were discussing the COVID supplemental about the involvement of ACCA. Now, I'm hearing from the minister right now that Kampala is being given special allocation for renewable. Now, may I know why? Because the reason why I'm saying this is Kampala and Wakiso. Because Kampala and Wakiso, they fall under the districts just like any other districts, the divisions, and that's why they are represented by various MPs and so on. They are well demarcated. So why don't you translate Kampala city in terms of the uniform structures that are taken throughout the country? Because you cannot say Kampala city is a different city from Barara city. It's different from Lira city. So why are you treating Kampala city differently? Is it because of Bobby Wine? Yes. Bobby Wine now is all over the place. So we don't want us to use our budget process for dealing with your political challenges. Separate the two. As far as we are concerned, Kampala should be treated like any other region, any other district. Give us what is allocated to us as a district, and we'll deal with it. But I think it's wrong for the ministry, because of the Bobby Wine challenge, political challenge, to now give Kampala separate budget for SACCOs, for microfinance. I think that's completely. I won't allow, as a Ugandan, what is good for Lago is good for Bahati.
Okay, so we shall give the details of that, and then the committee can make a decision. But the challenge that is mentioned is none of our challenge now, so maybe it was the challenge of FDC, but not the NRM. So the final one was on the issue of, I think the digital stamp. I don't know how we think that it's very important for revenue collection. The committee has its own observations, but we're in that catch 2022, where the executive thinks that this is very, very important. The committee you have your own, so we have to continue convincing you that actually we need to collect more revenue. Because, and you can provide evidence on actually how it has enhanced revenue. This afternoon we can give you some examples.
Yes, we know that we have implemented it for certain industries, breweries and water, soda. Yes. Can we look at the numbers?
Yes, we are going to give
how much revenue they have been paying previously, how much revenue they are paying now.
Yes.
I think, and how much we are investing in digital stamps in these corporations, in those enterprises. Okay. So it's simple. Just show us the numbers. The numbers you showed us previously, we are not adding them.
Yeah, the minister should also add us information. We are just keeping it on social media that URA is doing very well right now. But in the last, even around COVID time, they posted over and above their projection. And even in the last quarter, they again posted over and above their projections. Could it be as a result of some of these measures? Can you come up with those figures? The committee, if you may be support of this.
Okay, I think for the change of management.
We'll give you that information, both change of the forms that are going there, but also the revised targets. So we'll give you more information about that.
Yeah, but talking about targets, Minister, you know, there are targets that we approved. You went further to reduce these targets. And you have not come to Parliament to get this approval. The budget was approved on the basis of the original targets. We have not yet revised that budget. But we have scaled down the targets, and URA is now appearing to be overperforming, yet it is not. And tomorrow they are going to claim, what is this?
The bonus.
Bonus.
No, they
For overperformance.
No, they will not claim a bonus against any other figure apart from parliamentary approved figure.
Yeah, but Minister, I also not explained why, in terms of releases, you have actually reduced the releases from what was appropriated. 1/4 of the budget you approved is not what is actually being released. Instead, the figures being released are too low, and the ministries are terribly understaffed. You know, they are being starved with resources. They are not performing.
Kenneth will answer that as I finish it. I'm going to finish and Kenneth will answer, and I asked Kasumba to answer. My final question, my final comment is Kenneth will answer the issue of the district returns, the releases, the police, Honorable Oceano, the police has been in this situation for so many years. We never give enough money to the Uganda Police Force. So we keep managing, and the reason has been because of lack of resources. So we continue handling slowly by slowly as we move forward. Can I make the final comment on the side of the economics of the need to strengthen our trade relations on DRC, Congo, and even South Sudan, and then General Katumba will give more details on this project, strategic project. One, I think colleagues you need to understand, as you know, that as we speak now, we are doing trade worth $500 million with DRC Congo. We were doing 700 million with South Sudan before the 2013 conflict. And because of that conflict, our exports came down. So as you all know, the markets that actually we are sure about, as we speak now, is within the region. Then Africa, as we prepare to capture the European markets, because those require thorough investment in terms of what kind of seedling are you planting, the soils, the standards. To meet those standards in the short run might be difficult. But we have a huge market in DRC Congo, a huge market. And people are producing West Nile, or at the border, even wherever we are producing. So as we invest on one side in production, we must now plan for markets. And this strategic project, which was agreed upon by His Excellency President Museveni and President Tshisekedi, is one of the key strategic projects that we think we should invest in. And that's why the two heads of state have actually agreed to move with speed so that we can facilitate trade to the two nations and allow our farmers get money out of these areas. But General Katumba will add more details.
Procedure.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know whether others have different views. I am not against the economic value or the economic importance of that project. What I'm saying is what priority do we have as a country? We are talking about prioritization of the internal project vis-a-vis the neighboring project. However valuable your neighbor is, you cannot go and take your neighbor's child to hospital when yours is equally down. So you must first fix your own problem in the house before you can assist your neighbor. This is what we are saying. The economic value, we understand it. You don't even need to preach to us that gospel. And I'm telling you, that general, I will support him 110%. He is a very hardworking person, he's a strong looking, but really, can the general come to us on the floor and convince us that all the outstanding urgent roads That we highlighted the other time when we had a debate on the road. It's all done. Then come back to this point.
But information, information I want to give you is very important. Minister of Finance, you look at the planners of these roads. We just had them to General Katumba to implement. Don't shift that budget there. Please exhaust that question. Let General Katumba wait for the money to implement construction of the road. You are the planners of these roads. Some of the roads that the Katumba doesn't know. They just say start with this. Please explain. Leave that general. It's you to explain. Besides, don't hand this to someone else. Also answer the issue of appropriation in the account you created. That national COVID account. What is happening there? You seem to be dodging that thing and you want to pass before it starts.
Chair, I hope Charles is not targeting a soft spot. I don't know why he's running out of the table. But the point is, friends, and all of you who understand economics, these things go together. Because of limited resources, you can never finish one thing and go to the other. For you to do the roads here in country, you need the revenue, you need money. Even if you borrowed, you need money to pay back. And anything that promotes trade, anything that gets more money in the pockets of Ugandans is something that also should be part and parcel of the plan and the priorities. So interconnectivity, these regional interconnectivity projects, that's why you see that when we talk about standard gauge railway, we are talking about railway that also will go to Sudan, so that when you get your goods from Mombasa, they are transported straight to South Sudan. So these regional projects that promote trade are actually, trade and security are key and a priority to our country.
But we don't disagree with you.
So now, the other projects which have not been worked on, Katumba has a plan. We'll also talk about the plan on how to resolve these things. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, first of all, personally, I was talking about those roads, the money for roads that we approved. Yes. You are cutting that budget to supply to this new project.
Oh, no.
I think that's what you are doing. Because you are failing to release money for our local roads.
Yes. Why can't you
in favor of these roads?
Chairman, why can't you talk about that?
No, Kenneth, you know he's always very smart. You always have an answer for any question. You know, but we know that I mean, we on the ground. Kenneth is in Kampala. We see his tractors grounded. And the reason is they don't have money. Kenneth will give you a story, I'm telling you. But before you come in, I think we need a bilateral agreement on this. Because legally we cannot proceed. We need you have it. Very good.
It is a general who should give assurance that Kenneth has given him money. That's what we need. We don't need assurance from Kenneth. We need assurance from general who should tell us now Kenneth has given you the money. Because that's when you can.
You cannot say it.
Now, Chairman, if I could
Kenneth, to answer the issue of the releases, and then also the districts. And then after that, we'll go to general and then the Minister of Health.
Okay, yes, Honorable Chairman. It is true, of course, the Q1 release has had issues, largely on account of the revenue performance which we have hinted on. So far, we have released 30.5% of the government of Uganda budget. Now, there are three factors which have affected the release. One, as I said, is the revenue, because the revenue, on account of the approved budget, definitely has not performed as projected. Number two, you realize there was a supplementary which was given. The supplementary which is in Schedule 1. This supplementary, 80% of the supplementary has been taken into account in Q1. So meaning
some extent, it has also replaced some of the activities. So on account of that, there are some activities which have not been implemented in quarter one. Now, specifically to answer the question you are raising on works, works has a number of critical projects. One of the key expenditure drivers in works is actually UNRA, which is the national roads. UNRA in quarter one received 600 billion Uganda shillings, which is exactly 25% of their quarterly release, which is actually 100%. So actually UNRA, which is the major expenditure driver, did get all the money they required. Now in quarter two, what is going to be one of the key expenditure drivers under works is actually going to be procurement of the Airbus, and the Minister of Works is actually aware. We are also going to prioritize the project for interconnectivity, because interconnectivity was suppressed in quarter one to free money for UNRA for the national roads. So in quarter two, we have a bill of 30 billion which the Minister of Works has already given us, and that money is going to be released actually this week. So that one we can actually put our word on it, and we can put our word on it, and we can actually provide the evidence immediately the release is done that money is definitely going to come. Now, when you are releasing money, you look at number one, the work plan of the institutions, but also you look at the revenues. So you have to match the revenues against the work plans, and then do a sequencing. So some things, of course, have to give in, and then others, of course, take priority as you of course, you execute the budget, and that's what we have done.
But yeah, let me get clarification from Kenneth before we proceed. You've answered it very well, and you referred us to UNRA. I hope you read our minds and where they were directed.
Yes.
And why we insist the general doesn't know. Okay, you're talking of URA. Have you looked at the aspect of the Duka project?
No, but I answered it honorably. I answered it. I said in quarter one, the major expenditure driver was UNRA. UNRA practically takes 80% of the money under the sector, and we gave them 100% of their quarterly requirements. So in quarter two, we are going to prioritize the Duka. That's the interconnectivity project, which quarter two is actually this week. So by the time we go for the independence holiday, we shall have done that. No, but that's a fact. It's not, yes, so you can. Then number two, Mr. Chairman, the other issue which members raised was on the money for local governments, the COVID money. We have actually attached an Annex 4, which shows the local governments which have received the 2.8 billion. Now what we did, this money was specifically on account of the local governments which returned the money. When we issued, say, supplementary Schedule 1, these are the local governments which had returned the money. Now, of course, as you can imagine, the local governments keep returning the money at different paces, at different times. So we are going to compile the balance of what has been returned, and we submit it to Parliament for approval. So once approved, then that money will be sent back to the local government. So this was the situation, Annex 4. If you look at Annex 4, there is a list of local governments, and then the first column, the second column shows COVID. Exactly. So now that shows the local governments that returned the money, how much they returned, and that money has actually been already released back to the local governments. Some local governments then they have not actually returned the money, so it is also not true that they have returned the 10 billion. No. In fact, as of last week, the totality of what has been returned is about 4.6. So we want to combine all the balances that have been returned, and then we issue one additional supplementary.
But Kayunga returned the money.
No, Mr. Chairman, what I'm saying, what is here is what had been returned by the 22nd of July when we authorized supplementary Schedule 1. Now the rest, the ones who returned the money subsequently, we want to compile and issue one additional, one supplementary. Then we send back the money.
Why don't you give it us?
Let's explain.
Why don't you give that information? And you have this supplementary.
Okay, we can provide that.
No, wait, Charles. There are districts here which returned the money.
Yeah.
And he has actually not presented that information.
Yeah.
We're asking him to present that information so that we treat all that information together.
No, but
so that there is no district that suffered.
There is an operational regime here. You operate non-tax revenue accounts.
No, this one goes to...
You make them clear. And first of all, one question I wanted to ask you, why did you allow us to approve the money to those local governments and immediately issue a letter
instructing them to return the money?
No,
A letter written to a Secretary of Treasury. Why did we approve the money to those local governments and immediately issued a circular asking them to
No,
return the money?
the
Not
money-
the one which we were given.
No.
You leave our 10 million.
That's what they wrote for us.
Exactly.
No, but it was before the end of the
No,
the
no,
financial
Mr. Honorable, this money, the law required that this money should be sent to the consolidated fund, and that's what we did. And the only way you can get it out of the consolidated fund is by a supplementary appropriation. So what we can do, when the chairman, as you are guiding us, we can now present the balances of what has been, because all we need is to do a reconciliation with Treasury, and then we submit all the balances, all the money that has now been remitted, and then you approve one supplementary. Yes.
The issue for
That's, we are talking about the 10.
But when you issued the charter, the financial year had ended. This guy still had the time to use the money. That's what I was
I think that's
saying.
the coordinator to share it.
So now that one, whatever, Chairman, whatever the honorable member is saying, the financial year ended, okay, and that money was not given back to the local governments. So, but whatever money they remitted the consolidated fund out of the 10 billion is the money we are sending back to the local governments. Now, so far what we captured in Schedule 1 was 2.8 billion. So, like I said, as the chairman has guided, we are going to go and do a reconciliation with Treasury. Any other money that has been remitted by a local government out of the 10, we are going to compile it and present it here, and then it becomes part of us as an addendum to the supplementary, and as an addendum. And then you can process it at once, and then we send it.
No, Kelly.
Okay.
Kelly, Chair.
I think that is very straightforward.
No, it's not straightforward, Chair.
What is the problem?
What's not straight is that Kennedy is trying to get an impression that it's only what local government return, but some all this money we return them to the
Consolidated
revenue account of government. So what should be done is that, for instance, in Tororo we have 6 members of parliament, and we all return that money. That means you just what Tororo needs is money from the 6 members, which is 120 million. That's what they're saying.
Yes.
So it's not but they're now saying we're going to look at because what matters is we return the money.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it was sent through ministry or through local government.
Yes.
The most important thing, we return the money to that revenue account.
Yes.
So what we need now is to have the money, just compute the number of MPs. If you want evidence, we can give you those who return the money, and then you buy the money.
But that's what I said. I said we are going to reconcile the money returned. We are going to reconcile with Treasury. Look at how much money has been returned. So if Tororo has returned 120 million, has deposited 120 million, then we are going to prepare a supplementary.
For exposed one thing. Therefore, there is inefficiency in those local governments and lack of respect for guidelines. Because as soon as they were elected to return the money, they should have put the money in the account, and there have been no case of saying by July these people did not return what?
Yes, some have.
That's what we think.
Some
The
have
money
not.
has gone to the account. Automatically to the reverted the consolidated account.
Yeah.
And would be
So we are going to do that, and then we shall have a reconciliation.
So, General can add on, and then we ask the place of Gareth to make some comment on accountability.
Thank you very much. Honorable Chair, unfortunately my mother has gone out and I wanted to answer about it, but maybe she will.
You are answering to the committee.
Yeah, okay, sir. First of all, let me start with the issue of the Northern Corridor Road project, which was talking about the Kamdini Lila Road and the one from Tororo Mbari Soroti Road. That project is under the World Bank, and World Bank, we had already committed and given a contract to Motenje, who are working on that project. There were issues of social safeguards, and World Bank suspended the project because of social safeguards. One of it was because of a quarry which had been established at Katine on the way to Soroti, which did not meet the requirements of World Bank. Now, UNRWA wrote to World Bank after the World Bank had sent them the requirements which they had to qualify, And I also reinforced UNRWA's letter on the 20th of August to the country manager of the World Bank, requesting them to specifically lift the stop contract which they had put in place, and specifically brought out the danger which it was posing to the populace, especially between Kona Kamdini and Lira, as there were a number of accidents. Just yesterday, I got a response from the country director, and this is in what he says, his letter says in part, referring to my letter. He says, having received and reviewed in detail UNRWA's letters dated 26th July and 14th August and lately 14th September, which all related to the lifting of the stop works order as previously communicated by the bank in its letter dated November 6, 2019, the bank has issued a no objection to the lifting of the stop works order on the Northern Eastern Road Corridor Asset Management Project. So now that one has been lifted, so the contractor will be getting back on site. So that answers the issue of the that road. Now coming to the issue of the Congo, honorable members, chair and honorable members, I think I highly appreciate the observations by members that this is a strategic consideration, a strategic project which we need to implement, and I highly appreciate the Honorable Bahati, how he linked the project to the other aspects of it, including the economy and all that. Honorable members, I think you all know that we have been for a long time trying to have very warm relationship with our neighbor, Congo, DRC, and it has not been an easy thing. I think when the two presidents met and agreed and found that this is one way in which we can promote warm relationship between the two countries and trade, then that's the timing. It's the timing now that since we have got very, very positive and responsive action from the other side, then we should be able to together implement this project. As already alluded to, this project will promote trade and also highly address the issue of security on the two sides of the border, which has been a very big problem, standing problem for so many years. Honorable members, I'll give this quote which I got about because when our colonial masters were developing our infrastructure, they never, I think, thought that African countries would trade amongst themselves. That's why they were developing what they call pit to port, from the pit where they are getting the minerals to the port, or shamba to port infrastructure. They never envisaged that African countries would trade amongst themselves. If you look at how they were developing their infrastructure in Europe, they have a lot of connectivity between countries. But for Africa, we didn't have. And this is what one of the UN Economic Commission report said in 1959, and I quote, "The most outstanding characteristics of the transportation system of Africa is the comparative isolation which they have developed within the confines of individual countries and territories. This is reflected in the lack of links between countries and territories within the same geographical sub-region," unquote. Now this is what this project intends to cure in terms of enabling linkages and trade between the two countries. So I would really request that the committee highly considers this as something which will be a game changer in terms of regional cooperation, in terms of regional trade, in terms of security. How far have we gone? So far we have in place a draft intergovernmental agreement, which of course are yet to be signed, and also a project development agreement, and these are still all drafts between the two countries, awaiting the approval of this facility, so that then we can go ahead to sign for the implementation. I would like to submit these two documents to the committee for consideration.
Mr. Chairman, can I suggest an amendment? Or rather, give a suggestion to the minister. Mr. Chairman, considering the fact that the tempers are high with regard to the condition of the roads, and you know that many parts of Uganda has been affected by the recent flood. So I think virtually all of us are concerned about what is happening in our respective areas. So can I suggest that the minister should review his demand and incorporate the local urgent projects, so that we add those urgent projects to this one of the DRC which you are demanding now. And then we'll be able to look at it as a package. Because it's going to be very difficult for us as a committee to drive this particular regional project and ignore the indigenous, the local project which is hurting the population. We find it very difficult, Mr. Chairman, to drive that subject on the floor of Parliament. Yeah.
I think the minister cleverly explained that very point when he was away. And so can you explain what he's going to be doing in quarter 2? So we have already addressed that problem. Okay. Yes. Honourable Minister, maybe the issue you need to clarify is how do we go ahead to authorize funding when the agreements are still in draft form?
Yes, sir. I think now this is the chicken and the egg situation, because I think we need to be very sure that we have the funding before we commit to our friends, because the two are supposed to be signed between the two governments. If we are not sure that there is funding, then how do we commit? We'll be like telling a lie.
And that's why I think there are some commitments that we have already endorsed both sides as government. And then once this process is done, at the next heads of summit, heads of state summit, we will endorse the thing. But even in that format, they have already, both sides have already committed. They are waiting the processes.
Yeah, but you are asking us to do something that is outside the law. You know, how do we proceed to authorize fund without a binding agreement? Because for us to authorize funding, we do not authorize funding based on speculation. As it is now, we are still speculating that the agreement,
there is a commitment,
that an agreement will be, this agreement will be signed.
There is a commitment already between the two countries.
Yes,
which he has.
Honorable Chair, there's already been an exchange of letters of comfort between the two ministries, Minister of Finance and his counterpart on the other side. They have all signed. They have all signed letters of comfort on the project.
Can I draw your attention to Article 159? Article 159, 5, Clause 5. Parliament may, by resolution, authorize the government to enter into an agreement for the giving of a loan or a grant out of any public fund or public account. And the Clause 6 says, an agreement entered into under Clause 5 of this article shall be laid before Parliament and shall not come into operation unless it has been approved by Parliament by resolution. So you have a duty to present a signed agreement endorsed by Parliament before we can use these as basic documents to authorize funding. That's the challenge.
Yeah, no, I say the minister has a precedent of the praise. But when you are asking for money for the praise, you brought the agreement between you and the supplier. So I think that's what we should be doing here.
No,
letters of comfort,
yeah, this is a different matter because we are providing a grant.
Yeah, but Chair, we will get the right of commitment between the two countries. That should be special. And this is the argument that we shall know whether this is a loan or...
Yes, order. Minister.
I'm saying we are going to provide the commitment between the two countries, which has been endorsed by the two countries, and then I'll agree with the Attorney General on how to move on the legal part of it.
Yeah, but how do we deal with that article? How do we deal with that provision in the Constitution?
No, let's move the process, but we are going to consult with the SG and the Chamber.
So otherwise, if you wait for another time, there was a better time. And we'll manifest back to the
Yeah, you need to, because we shall be blocked on the floor.
No.
Yeah, I just want to measure. Will this be a loan to Congo or?
They are giving a grant.
They are giving a grant to Congo.
Yes, it's a regional strategic project.
Okay.
It's a joint project.
We are committed.
We are committed.
Given the benefit.
Yes, we are investing, yeah.
Yeah, in other words, the money is not going to be repaid.
No.
So it is a grant.
No.
It's a grant.
I don't know how we look at it. It's a
public investment.
An investment.
It's an investment.
Yeah, but the government invests in form of a loan or a grant. You know, so this particular case is a grant.
Let's talk to H and then come back.
So, okay, you get back to us after consulting the Attorney General on this. So, General, you still want to add something on this?
I think we had the...
No, sir, I think I'm done with my part. Kenneth has assured us that he's going to give us some good plan for the Duka and interconnectivity in the next quarter. It's a commitment, which I will also follow up there.
Yeah, but you did not clarify this issue of the private contractor, 60%. How is that person going to be paid?
Well, that one is an agreement between Congo, the DRC government, and the contractor. We are only making the constitution of the state.
Okay.
So the detailed agreement and the big project is actually a Congo project. We are only contributing this much as a regional expression of our commitment to promote. So the following for the big percentage and all that is between Congo and the contractor. They are the ones who found the contractor in
Okay. And about Queen?
First of all, for the support you've given us, an entire committee, ever since we had this pandemic. First of all, I want to apologize to our Senior Honorable Cecilia for delaying to deliver the mask. The challenge was on the funding because we received 33 billion for the mask out of 89. Although we have gone ahead to distribute, we have so far distributed in about 71 districts. Dokolo is actually this week. They had drawn the schedule for delivery, and Dokolo is supposed to be in this week. So the mask for Dokolo will be coming. So far.
So for you, Dokolo is not a priority.
Pardon?
For you, Dokolo is not a priority.
No, it is a priority. For sure it is a priority, but we apologize. I hope you will really understand.
I accept it.
And on the mask, I will give you the so far, the 71 districts where we have distributed. And we have distributed masks worth 51 billion. Although the money so far we got is 33. So we still have a big, here is the chair.
But we never reduced that request. How come you now the money was
I am going to provide the accountability of the money you have provided for us, because out of
before I want to seek a clarification. Just a small one, Chair. The way you are giving us the distribution schedule of masks, it's like you planned that let's start with Kampala, go to Jinja, go to where, as it seems that's also the way Corona moves. Start with Kampala, so where it's about to reach, you give masks. Are you considering what could have been the implication of taking long to distribute masks to the public? Why didn't you tell us the exact amount of money you wanted to procure masks, which was to be given all at once to all people?
No, the money was requested before.
So what happened is it that they know COVID, so we're giving them this week because they expect COVID next week?
Okay, let's allow us.
Of the 89 honorable, the one that you provided us last time, so far we received 70. But of the 70, we have provided a breakdown because that 70 included 33 to procure face masks. It also included the procurement of test kits. It included the payment of salaries for workers. It included the allowances. It included transportation of all these patients from all over the country. It included the renovation of Nambole, because Nambole had been closed. It was due for repair and for renovation. It was not habitable at all. So it was not only just for masks. So we hope that I have provided, sir, the breakdown of all, not just the 70 that we received in the last disbursement, but all the entire COVID money that you provided us, including the emergency response resources that you provided us, that the 25 billion at the beginning, and then the 94, and also 70. So we hope that even this quarter, the remaining 19 billion out of the last supplementary will be provided. That's what finance has told us, that they are going to provide us that balance. Also, this is the breakdown of the money we received. Now, the money we are here to defend the 50 billion, the 100 billion, the 50 has already been elaborated by Honorable Minister as a country commitment to meet the funding gap of HIV, TB and malaria. But the 50, we have allocated 24 billion to masks. Of course, this largely is going to pay for the debt. As I mentioned, we had already supplied worth over 50 billion. So part of this money is going to pay actually the debt. We have also allowances, the allowances for health workers who are taking care of our patients, 3 billion. The meals for all the patients under care, 2 billion. The fuel, this includes the center and also up-country, 3.5 billion. Support to local government and regional referral hospital surveillance teams. This we are giving 4.5, because this is not enough at all. Even in the last accountability of the 70, you'll notice that we sent 4 billion in 56 districts only. Only 56 received. The other districts never received. So this time we are going to give the ones that never received. We have salaries of about 564 staff. We hired as addition workforce, that is 3 billion. The test kits and reagents, 3 billion. So here I can provide. You can distribute to the members. So in total that is 50. But as you note, that as we talk, we received already a directive from the President and the Cabinet that will procure masks, additional masks for the children who are going to school. That is about 5.76 billion in addition to what was earlier committed. So if we get the 24 billion, we shall now be left with a funding gap of 29.7 billion on masks. That means still will not be able to distribute to entire country as had planned.
You are supplying masks to almost. I don't need a mask. Why don't you discount that proportion of the population? So that instead of 33, you talk about like 25 million people, you know? But to supply a mask to Honorable Bahati, that is wasteful expenditure.
Chair, that would be the ideal, but you can't tell who will accept. And I think when we take the masks, we deliver them to the districts, and the districts are supposed to distribute them accordingly, because we don't distribute these masks.
When they distributed the masks to Kayunga, they did not give me.
Before you yeah, maybe because actually in some districts what the challenge we have had is that the number we anticipated to like the budget that we had anticipated to distribute, we found there are so many more numbers than actually the number that the UBOS had estimated. So still that balance, it is still there. There are a number of districts actually we didn't. We received many complaints.
We need to help the permanent secretary. The Minister of Finance is here. The Minister of Finance, the permanent secretary, is already telling us that even if she gets 24, there will still be a funding gap of 24. 24. And for masks, our children are going to school soon. We don't know when. So what are we going to do about it? Are we just going to sacrifice those kids to go to school as we are looking for money for masks? What are we going to do here? Can we do something before these children go to school?
No, but we need to clarify further, Chair. I want the PS to help me to know whether these masks, are you going to give to all school children or children who are in government schools?
We are giving the masks to the children who are going back. Those are finalists who will be at school, because they told us that the Ministry of Education submitted a list, both private and public, but those that are going back to school now, especially the finalists and the tertiary institutions. Chair, also allow me to comment about the ambulances. Thank you so much. You gave us money and we procured 38 ambulances. But because of COVID, it disrupted, I think, the manufacturing. We did not get the ambulances come on time. They are expected in 2 weeks' time. They're on the ship. I think this week they will be in Mombasa. So in 2 weeks' time we'll be able to get these ambulances. But according to the Ministry of Health Policy, we agreed that because of the misuse of these ambulances we have seen, and also lack of resources at the hospitals or on the health centers, we create regional command centers that manage these ambulances, and we put them there. We train paramedics, we put the budget for fuel so that the people can call at any one time within that region, and these ambulances will go and pick whoever, so that they are not attached to one facility, because we saw that they are not put to proper use. So these ambulances, starting with this year, we are not going to place them in different facilities. We are going to place in the region so that they can serve entire region and entire population in that region.
I think I need to give information here. I see most of us are MPs, we're waiting on US service. I, for one, I paid for fuel for the ambulance, and it is really serving the community. And during this period, when you fail to provide an ambulance, it is my ambulance that worked. So my advice would be to offload this burden from the MPs. You provide the ambulance, and then you provide the support to the ambulance. It's better than putting it at a region. When will a regional ambulance come to save a situation 100 miles away?
Like in the case of Kayunga, we'll put a number of ambulances that are managed centrally. They are tracked, they are provided service, they are serviced, they are given tires, they are given fuel, so that anyone in the region, whether Kayunga, whether Mukono, whether in that area, they can call, then and that ambulance goes and picks them. Instead of putting them at facility, because at facility level we realize that they don't have enough budget to maintain those ambulances. They don't have fuel.
And likewise, where will you get that operational budget?
Yeah, we are going to come back here because that's the only way. We are going to come back here because that's the only way we are going to have efficient ambulance and emergency services in the country. Because right now when we put on those small facilities, they end up parking, you find a tire has a problem and the car parked for 1 year. It will require service, it's not serviced, and it runs down because of non-use. So we think that if we have the regional teams and we train the paramedic, they will actually, we've started, for example, here in Naguru, we are now setting up the command center for here, so that we put a call center. Whether you are in outside Kampala in Wakiso, you can call and then that ambulance comes.
Yeah, there is some information I want to give the PS. Yes, that idea is so good, and the way you look at it, I wish it could go down and be implemented that way. It's really a good thing. But even, I know, when it comes into force, a general has been there, and well, he tried to change that institution like other people have tried to do. How many times have you called police and you're being attacked, you're calling police and the police saying, how many are they? Are they armed? Are you sure you're going to address those kind of challenges which come to the regional ambulance? At least with the ambulances in the hospital, we know the driver, we know the doctor, we know the what. We just call the doctor straight and he sends the what? The ambulance. Now you're just giving us a number. Which number will ring like those songs of MTN when somebody is dying? We are not going to address the real cause of the problem. We are only trying to treat the symptoms. I would still imagine, although we have already moved ahead with this, we will support you. I would still imagine that it would have been more cost effective for us to look for the budget to maintain these ambulances at the centers, at the units, than going for this project. If we are also going for this project, I know you have given ambulances to Red Cross, and I think we gave you the support. We gave the support so much, this committee supported Red Cross. I know Red Cross is going to be effective. But us, given the way things have been going, maybe you work a miracle. You're already complaining that people are not working with you. I hope there will be a miracle. First, also consider, as you're asking for money for this regional project, also submit a request for money for those ambulances at the center to be what? Maintained and repaired to supplement this regional ambulances.
Okay, let's proceed.
Chair, it is true that the ambulance services has had challenges, but we are also looking at how we can bring efficiency, and by looking at how other countries have managed ambulance services, they have actually efficiently managed them through central monitoring and central command. And they like now the Red Cross. The Red Cross, we gave them ambulances and they are managing them, and we have deployed them at the major highways, and they are working. They are really working. So I think let's try. We have the will to improve. On the issue of you asked about the COVID fund money, the donated money, Honorable Cecilia. That money is there. It is in finance. It is on collection account. But of course, it has to go through. It is 29.
Yes, be careful in that. Finance has doing that. Honorable man, you have not said anything about that account. Now you will have to say, because the PS now is saying that money is in finance.
It's 29. It is 29.23 billion. So that money is there, and I think it has to go through that process of supplementary. Yes, and then it will be used. But it is there because I don't know why it was not submitted, but we are waiting for that money to be released so that for us we can use
what we know
for the purpose.
Close to the consolidated fund. As you say, it's just stuck there. Can you explain?
No, the chair is true what the guests are saying that. When we started receiving donations, we opened, as required by law, a separate collection account. So all the resources we have been receiving in terms of cash has been deposited in the collection account. To spend this money, we must now come to you for appropriation. But there's some internal discussions on where we want to apply it, and that discussions has not ended. We hope to conclude it, and then after that we'll come back to the House for appropriation.
Why the COVID continues?
But
comment to the population.
If it hasn't been concluded, it has not been brought to our attention.
To clarify, given the money we return, the districts were advised to put it also on that account.
Yes.
So now there is confusion, mix up of the money we return, the money we give the local government, donation by children.
No, Honorable, what we are doing, that is a separate account. The donation for COVID is a separate account.
The National Task Force is also a separate account.
No, that is where what the National Task Force was correcting has been deposited on a separate collection account.
Are there two accounts on COVID?
There is one account.
Only one?
Yes.
That's where all this money, that's what I need. Even that's where we're directed to put the money.
No, that's a different one. The donation one, the donation is different from the money the district received.
Did we read the letters issued by the Central Federation? You are referring to the National Task Force.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think, remember that it is 2 p.m. And I thought I should have begun the meeting in the next 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I said in the next 10 minutes.
Finally, this breakdown we have provided can only take us through this period of 1 quarter. But if we are to talk about 6 months, the need is very big. And I just wanted to let you know, Chair, that we might have to come back even after 3 months to present another supplementary budget. Because this particular money can only run us for 3 months.
Chair, before PS goes out, there's a very serious issue which is right now in the country. I think so.
Yes.
So, Chair, we're hearing information, I don't know whether that the pandemic is overwhelming you, actually now. And you're beginning to issue guidelines about, is it home, what?
Home care, yes.
How fast are you going to give us those things? Because that's what we are running now. We don't know. Maybe the thing is already in our homes. How fast are you going to give us those home management guidelines?
The guidelines, Chair, are out. We have already issued the guidelines. because we realized that the asymptomatic were taking over the space, and then when we would get the people who are very sick, would not get where to put them. The numbers are overwhelming. I think now Nambole, we have their numbers is coming to 1,000. And if we continue getting everyone in the hospital, it will be overwhelmed, but also our health workers are more exposed. So we issued guidelines, which we have circulated. I'm going to submit a copy so that you can also help to share with all the other people who may want to know. But the guidelines are out.
Yes, but in addition, the Electoral Commission has given us guidelines. And in those guidelines, they don't give us details about the Ministry of Health guidelines. They are silent about the details. And we might end up flouting those regulations because they have not been properly disseminated. Is there a way you are going to avail the Ministry of Health guidelines, to the candidates now so that they don't break the law without knowing? Because those guidelines are really very scanty. They are not available within the population.
Yes, you are right. The guidelines were not detailed, and now we have set up a committee between Ministry of Health and the Electoral Commission to discuss the details. And then after that, Electoral Commission will be able to disseminate it through the structure to the candidates.
But how soon is that?
I'm going to find out, Chair, but it should be very soon, given that nominations are going to come soon.
Yeah, nominations are 12, and I hope they don't come later than that, because maybe we applied in perspective. It will have a negative effect on the candidates.
You give more money for college, you should give. You should be giving money.
So I think there being no other one.
Mr. Chairman.
That's one observation.
One observation.
Yes, it's saying that what is provided, they only last for 1 quarter. So you are likely to come back for another supplemental.
That's what you shall say.
Yes.
Just go back.
I'm trying to. Chair, I think. Yes.
That is actually our need. That's our need. But
Yes.
they told us they wanted to be presented as.
Was it not possible for us to look at the projection maybe up to a longer period of time?
You have
This
is what
She has indicated
yes.
that there will be a funding cap of 29.76 billion
I have not looked at
after approval of the 50 billion.
I have not looked at it.
That's what she says. Yes. Honorable Cecilia?
Mr. Chairman, the PS has not explained why we have been getting complaints from the medical workers about non-payment of what is due to them. It has not come out because this is one of the priority which we had put in place when we gave them the money. That's one. Two, I'm wondering why the issue of TB, HIV, AIDS, and so on, that particular program is being lumped up together with this particular request for supplementary, because I would imagine that this is a foreseeable program because it runs for about 3 years, and I don't see why the ministry should not capture it and have it properly discussed and then appropriated for, because this is a long-term program. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I've not given up on my appeal to the ministry to actually source for a cheaper option to carry out mass testing of the population. Because right now, we are actually asking on artificial records, because you are saying we have only got 7,000 or 8,000 now, I don't know, cases which you have captured. But it could be more, because you don't know. Can we put in place, at least in a phase-out sign of areas which are most affected? And this will help us to identify hotspots, and then we can put in place mechanism to control those hotspots. But for now, you only wait until somebody has been identified positive, then you round up the wife and the children. But when the community is actually wallowing in that kind of infection. So I think, Madam PS, in the presence of the Minister of Finance, I think it's important the Ministry of Health should get serious on that. We have been praising you. We have been thanking the ministry the way you have guided, and Uganda is being praised. But I hope it's not on falsehood, because we are not being factual in the way we are presenting our COVID cases. So I'm still insisting, PS, that we go for mass testing of COVID-19.
Yes, on that note, how far have you gone with this? You were suggesting something to do with rapid tests. So how far have you gone with implementing that rapid test?
We want to thank Honorable Cecilia for that important issue that she has raised on how we can get everyone who needs to be tested, get tested so that we curb the infection. The testing is still, we are still using the PCR, and that PCR is very expensive and it takes time to, you can't get rapidly and test. But now we received 2 rapid tests, the antigen tests, which they were approved by WHO last week, and we got the sample. They have been validating them. Once we find that they are very effective, we'll switch from PCR to rapid test, and that way it will help us to test even more, but also quicker, so that if someone is test positive, you are able to test the people around. Therefore, really mass test should be the way to go. It's only we are limited by the what we have at hand.
What is PCR? PCR. What is PCR?
The PCR. It is polymerase chain reaction. So the supplementary, last year for TB and HIV, we presented this to Minister of Finance because this was a commitment. But I think at the time of release of the money, those funds were not appropriated in the budget, and yet it is a condition on PEPFAR funding that government needed to put 50 billion, and also they put, because they have reduced significantly the funding. So that's why we are here, although it was brought today. But I think moving forward, like next year, it will be incorporated in the main budget, so it will not be the supplementary anymore. Yes.
Now, let us conclude. Madam Permanent Secretary, you have explained, you have provided accountability, and that was for accountability for the funds that we have completed so far. I think it would be useful to give us a little report on what has been done so far. Since we started the meeting in 2005, we are keeping it so far in form of accountability, because we have to account for the house and what has been achieved. So that we are completed. So let's start with in writing and process this and communicate the gap, the information that we are going to provide. rehabilitation and expansion of Kayunga Hospital, Ayunga Hospital. That was one project. I think the job has been well done by the contractors. I'm giving credit where credit is due. Don't say that I have to where they do good work, they must be appreciated. You are right. Yes, I'm trying to appreciate them for the good work of rehabilitating and expanding Kayunga Hospital. I'm not giving you better for one project. I'm sure you has also been done very well. And my request is that the district has started, treating patients in this hospital. And I know they don't have money. They are going to run down the treatment, the beds. That's my biggest worry. I did not want them to touch that hospital before it becomes the Star hospital. I really did not want. And I'm so worried, that we may tell you a different story after a few months. The patients have started going there in the 3 days, they don't want to look at it. So I request that we move quickly to turn this hospital into Thank you so much. Now, Bahati, the remaining issue is the one of funding this supplemental. Because on record you said something different from what you said about. On record, what we have is that this supplementary expenditure will be funded from additional borrowing, which I tend to approve because the law says, what we cited in section 25, that the total supplementary expenditure that requires additional resources over and above what is approved by Parliament. The supplementary has to be over and above. So guys, we don't talk about some waste in the budget that we already appropriated. We appropriated 45.49 billion. So this additional 3.426 billion, which is identified as supplementary, should be over and above the 45.49. And we need to provide an explanation as to the source of funding. That's what we need. You have said to give from additional borrowing. So I think we shall need to refer you to the Committee of National Economy to ensure that we approve and borrowing before we can. Is it work? We have been.
We're not getting you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm saying we're not hearing you.
It's very coming. I'm more coming.
Yeah, I think the two processes are separate. The expenditure of own resources and once expenditure is approved, we are going ahead. The other process is position the budget and give us a value one for what you approve.
I don't know if you have heard it.
I will not have you. No.
Now let me just ask
that let's us approve expenditure first.
No.
Then the process.
Chair.
The borrow.
Chair. Yeah. Why I can't support that because when I look at this column here on the COVID, the money which is supposed to go to the districts. Amuru, which you know very well, the money is going to go around the column for COVID. I have seen the Okolo here. I have seen Serena district. Where those ones left? Where there are no provision? Changwanzi. There are a number of them. Kabo. Where is this left now? There is no provision for money for COVID. Yet all the other districts.
No, unfortunately, you are taking us back.
Chair.
No questions we are raised and properly answered.
You can
actions to be taken.
That's why I told you that I was not hearing you.
Yeah, those questions were answered. We are now asking.
Chairman, the issue is just respond, answer me. If I missed, just tell me. Why?
You can have it by
They have not received the money and they are not getting phone with supplemental. So why?
You can have it by
Even our Cecilia was here before me, it's not the same question.
No, she kept going out. That was the problem.
Now, just tell us the answer because we don't want to get into get down there.
That one, the answer was that they captured this information out of a certain date in July. But more resources were returned after that. Those resources have not been reflected here. So they are going to update that schedule, and those additional resources are going to be added.
And supply before we take it forward.
They supply together with it. Yeah, because that is resource neutral.
Okay.
The money is already available.
Thank you, Chair. Now that you are giving appreciation to the Permanent Secretary, may I also, on this note, say, Permanent Secretary, thank you. Yesterday, we received the masks for the district. Alisa was there. I was complaining last week, but yesterday we received them. So I think they are enough to cater for everybody. So by the time we go for nomination, look at Serene Health Center, or Papa Health Center for Serene. The ward that we have there, patients are sleeping out. We have building structures. We are a team. I think we sent 2 officers there last financial year. We need help for additional ward. Men and women, the children are out sharing and sleeping down. So if we could do additional one, would appreciate the center for our health center for as well county series.
Yeah, the matter that I thought we should conclude.
And also we did a ambulance. We have never had a
casino.
No, sorry, Chairman.
Yeah, we are discussing the issue of whether we should proceed with this matter, with the supplementary, while awaiting the source of funding being identified.
I think we should proceed.
But the law doesn't allow us.
No, Chair.
The law doesn't allow us.
Chair, I think it's a technical issue. My opinion is that we should proceed. Why am I saying this? Already we are talking about money that has already been spent.
The 3%.
The 3%. Yes, has already been spent. So we wouldn't be doing ourselves any justice by saying let's first wait for the sources of funding when actually the money has already been spent. Part of it. So me might take chair. Technically, let's do our part. Technically, let's do our part. We approve, and then other person do their part. We do what is ours. We let others do what is theirs.
Okay. So the decision of the committee is that proceed. Very good.
The German fixed the date.
So there being no other business, this meeting is considered adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.